Welcome. I have a special guest with me today, and thank you to him for recording after hours. He is located in Spain, but he is Italian. So my guest, I'll see if I can get the accent right. Emanuele, no good accent, Sisti. Thank you
No,
for joining me. You
pleasure.
are the founder of Innovation Campus, which has locations in Spain and Italy. So I can't wait to hear all about your business. So tell us about your background and how did you get into co-working? How did you start the Innovation Campus?
Okay, I'm an engineer, so completely different background, let's say. And I moved to Spain in 2012 to work as an engineer in Malaga, beautiful city in the south of Spain, on the beach, beautiful weather. So after a few years of a job, I say, okay, it's time to do something different here.
Okay.
And the city was already more and more attractive for people, especially from the north of Europe, UK, Holland, Germany, Scandinavia, were moving here to set up their own business. It's really attractive. It's quite international, well connected. So I quit my job and I got a kind of sabbatical to think about business.
What's next? Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, I started using co-working space in the city to work, to get a network, etc. And at that time, co-working in Malaga were mostly flats with IKEA furniture, so quite basic. And so I said, okay, maybe it's time to raise the bar, doing something better. And so I decided to open my own co-working spaces, Innovation Campus. So I mean, create something with a better standard. So we started so wooden table, rough wood table with iron legs, a bit more stylish. And I call it Innovation Campus because in my idea there was supposed to be a place where people will join together, not just to work, but also to develop their own business, to learn about the new trends in technology, business, marketing, whatever. So that's why the name of Innovation Campus. And so it's how it started. It's been 6 years now. Things have changed a lot in 6 years in co-working, in the world in general, with COVID, everything, So it has been a great trip so far.
So it looks like you have 3 locations. Talk about that. You started in Spain, but you have 2 locations well, tell me about your other location so I make sure I have this right.
I started with a small location, was 250 square meters.
Okay.
In square feet. So
yeah. So that's, I think it's 2,500 square feet. So yeah, small, but yeah.
Yeah, it was about 26 desks, 5 small office spaces, and 1 meeting room.
Okay.
And then it was 2018. Then things started working, and my idea was always to do something bigger. So as soon as the first space was filled, I got another space, small one at the beginning, but with a big rooftop terrace. So it was our second location, was a tiny space, but with a big terrace. So still, since many of our customers, we always focus on international customers. Even if we are based in Spain, our main target was international customers, both Spanish, but mostly international. And having the terrace in south of Spain for a co-working space is really, really attractive for people coming from the northern coast. So that's
irresistible.
That's why we got a space, which was with the first part of our current second space. And then just after COVID, 2021, I had the feeling that things were changing. The co-working industry was big companies were moving in the industry. At the beginning, our main customers were small entrepreneurs and then startups, as most of co-working spaces. Instead, during the COVID, just after the COVID, more and more companies started getting in touch, saying, "Okay, guys, we have a big office in Malaga. Now we want to give it out and have a smaller team, more flexible in co-working." So, okay, feeling the trend, I decided to make the step and get an entire building. The city centers was a big step for us, and get some partners in the company to help with the investment. And so we opened our third location, which was the biggest one, and which is now our main location in Malaga. During the years, we have expanded in the second location. We closed down the first one, which was too small
Too
for
small. Yep.
the business. And at the same time, we tried also to grow internationally. Since I'm Italian, also part of the business partners are Italians, we try to expand to Italy because it's almost easy for us to expand to Italy than in Spain because of connections and knowledge of the territory. But we are trying to expand with a low budget because we are still a small company. So we open up in Ancona in Italy, but it's franchising. And through a collaboration with a company who has, because of remote working now, they have just extra space in their office.
Yep.
We are opening another location in Sardinia.
Okay.
Or let's say the expansion in Italy, it's through
Creative partnerships.
in collaboration. So low budget.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Okay, so how many square feet is your current location in Spain?
Okay, in Spain, which is the spaces we manage directly, we have in total 2,300 square meters.
Okay.
You can make the conversion.
Yeah. I think it's roughly times 10 to get to, or wait, times 10 or 100. Anyway, got it. Okay.
So, which is not huge compared to other big cities, but in Malaga, which is still a second layer city, and with an historical city center, lack of big spaces, we used to be till last year, I think, the biggest co-working in the city. Now, Malaga, as I told you, has been growing in terms of the tourism and business, and now big chains are
coming
to the city, so big players are arriving with opening up big spaces. Now we have proper competitors in the city. But till last year, we used to be the biggest co-working in the area.
Okay. So is it good news to you that there's more supply coming, that more people know about co-working, or how do you feel about the expansion of it in your city?
Of course, it's competition. So on a side, as you said, more people and companies are getting aware of the co-working concept of flexible workspace. Also, they rise the level. So because they open, of course, beautiful space with high fees. So they are also allowed us to increase our fees to adapt. But at the same time, they also offer really beautiful spaces. So a few years ago, we could be not relaxed, but we don't need to be on top of improve the space every month, every 6 months. Now, it's always a continuous competition. Also, the time we need to get a customer. I remember 2 years ago when we got the building, our main building, we signed the contract mid-June, end of July was completely reserved. So in 1 month, it was 1,500 square meters completely reserved. Now you see every customer pass by, they check the space, then they go all around to the other co-working.
They're shopping.
They have much more options. So it's getting more competitive to acquire customers.
Yeah. So how have you adjusted your sales process since you opened, now that there's more competition? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's find your niche, you can, because especially in our case, we are, I would say we are kind of hybrid because we are big, but same as many big players, but we don't have the economical capacity of those big players. But on the other side, we are still a small company, so quite more flexible than the big players. So we try to adapt to customer needs, to be more flexible in terms
more accommodating.
So giving somehow the same services, but in a different way, in a more friendly and flexible way.
Yeah, which is right, the benefit of being local and independent. So you have private offices. Tell us what else. Meeting rooms, and then like flex desks, dedicated desks. Kind of, what do your products look like?
Yeah, we had all the products, all the one you mentioned. We had.
Okay.
So Nowadays, I'd say in terms of revenue streams, more than 70% is private offices, because we have
Yeah.
some big companies in. So of course they bring the most of revenues. Let's say 15% is co-working, both flex and dedicated desk. Another 10, more or less, it's meeting rooms, and the rest is services from virtual office, catering, or whatever service.
Yeah.
That's why we have almost 100% occupancy in private offices. So now our target for next year, especially, is to increase the revenue coming from services, meeting rooms, which are in high demand now again, and find out new possible revenue streams.
Yep. Got it. Yep. Do you open up your meeting rooms to outside rentals, or are they only for members?
Yeah, of course.
You do.
That's why it's a good.
Yeah. Yeah. I know co-working businesses are hard because you build them and they're kind of fixed, right? You have you have what you have, and to your point, competition comes in and you have to think about, like, well, how are we positioned and what do we do that's different? Because we can't really change the physical space. I mean, sometimes you can expand, but sometimes you can change the walls, add offices, or
the objective is always to maximize the space you have. Even if you spend, it's extra costs. So you have to find a way to get the max of what you have. So keep the cost there and increase the
revenue. Yeah. Yep. That is the challenge. So where do your members tend to come from? I'm guessing you don't run ads. Is it events, word of mouth? How do your members find you?
It's both. I mean, if we talk about co-workers, let's say so it's Google Maps, and Google also AdWords, and word of mouth, because we have a big community. We really work on community. We host events. We organize events every week. So for people who are in Malaga already, it's a community. It's a good marketing channel. And for people who land to Malaga, who arrive to Malaga, it's Google, which is now the one of the best tools, let's say, marketing tools. For companies, the same, but mostly it's Google and platform where we are listed, so they get to us through third-party platforms.
What's an example of a third-party platform that they come from? What?
Okay, in Spain, for instance, there is CoworkingSpace, which is the main directory for Spain, Coworking Spain, and what else? They used to be coworker.com. And
I think they got acquired by somebody, but so those work. It's helpful to know because I think the lead sources are different in the US. So it's always, interesting to know what's happening outside of the US, and some things are the same and some things are a little bit different. So we like to ask. So tell me, what do your members love most about working at your space?
I think they love the community because, as I told you, we have a really international community. So, and many of our members are expats or from abroad. So they feel our main language is English. So they feel home, because they don't feel this disconnection coming to Spain with the difficult to communicate with the place the place you work with in. And so we try to treat them comfortable home. And so the community is the main reason. And also we offer nice spaces. I told you, we have on a side a place with a huge terrace, and other side all the building. So it's both is places where it's nice to work.
Yeah. It's a beautiful space. I think it's such a special community to serve expats because they don't know anyone when they move, right?
Yeah.
Like for whatever reason they're coming and they don't. Would you say?
It's also demanding because
are they needy?
They want you to organize events, the afterward drinks, the sport event, the Christmas dinner, the Halloween party, whatever. So
they have nothing else to do. They don't have any friends. They don't have... So that's funny.
But that's the good vibe, because on the other side we can say, okay, let's reach to office spaces, much easier to manage. Can be also completely automatized space because they have much less requests. But then you lose the vibe. The vibe given by the coworkers, which is this international community people exchange experience from. We have really people from all over the world, from the US, from Australia, from South America, from Russia, anywhere. So it's a really cool community. I think it's really cool place to work. So it's what people like.
Yeah. I mean, right. And again, it's not just work for them. It's really filling like a void that they have, because otherwise they'd be at home and they would know no one. So they need the community. And I almost think there's like a little advantage to that. I think all the time about, in the US, there's so many people who are just at home and it's like, how do you, get them to understand what it might feel like to have something better? But that pain point isn't strong enough for them to leave the house, right? But, for you, it's so hard for people to be alone in a new place that they are just like compelled to go and they find that solution. So it's interesting. Okay, tell us a lesson that you've learned over the years. You've been doing this for a while. You have some creative partnerships. You've closed a location. What are a couple of lessons that you've learned that you would share?
Okay, the lesson, the main lesson was for me, in our case, was at one point we grew really fast. So we got this big space, which was 10 times the space which we were managing before. And that was a huge change, which really affected the company. They were working, and the space needed deep renovation. So for a couple of years, almost, or 1 year, 1.5 years, especially myself, I had to be dedicated to the renovation, to follow physically what was going there with the workers, with the electricians, which is not I wanted to do. Which also led me to lose focus on the real business, on the community, on the business development.
Yeah.
So it was tough, and somehow we also lost focus on what is really important when you manage co-working. So okay, if you want to grow big, be sure to be ready. I mean, to get everything ready before doing the step. In our case, was a bit couldn't be different. We were just after COVID. We found this kind of deal. So it was yes or no. So okay, we said, let's do it. Let's try.
You just had to take the
in general, it's better either you grow little by little or that you get ready financially and in terms of team structure before you grow big. Even if you have the small space working properly, when you grow bigger, it's completely different.
Yeah. Especially,
and the risk is that you lose focus on what you should redo for your company.
Yeah. But it's hard in this business, to your point, like the build out and managing the construction and the renovations is you have to do it. It's just not what you got into business to take care of. Okay, tell us a little bit about the technology that you use. What do you use for like your space management platform or billing customers?
Yeah, we use Office R&D to manage the space. And we have smart access control to enter the space, and those are our main tools. We use, of course, ECw for cloud printing. So we try to have everything as much automatized as possible to reduce the workload of the employees, the office managers, so that they can be dedicated to the community. That's more than the end.
Did you use Office R&D on the original smaller space, or did you get into it?
At the beginning, no. I think I started as most of CoworkingSpace with Excel or Google Sheets.
Totally.
Back with some charts and everything. And then when it was a bit more consolidated somehow, we started using we started with Office R&D. Then we switched to another platform, and then we got back to Office R&D because we thought it was better.
Yeah, the grass is always greener, but nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Although you have an engineering background, so you probably get into the technology a little bit and have some high standards for how you do.
Because I want things to work. I want, yeah.
Totally. Okay. What's one piece of advice that you'd give to somebody who's just starting? What maybe mistake would you suggest they avoid? Or yeah, just any if you were having coffee with someone, what are one or two things that you'd tell them to make sure they think ahead about, or something they would avoid?
Okay, if you start your own co-working space in terms of small business or medium business, what I suggest is not open up before opening up the space to connect with the local entrepreneurial community, startup community. So start being in touch, be involved in the local community, because that's gonna be your customer base. So it's better you know your customer base, even to make some market analysis, to check if there is really a request for co-working. So being in the local community before opening the space, not opening the space and then wait for the community to get to know you. It's better you are involved, and then so you can market your space even before you have it. You can start organizing events, pre-events, start launch early birds sales. So it's especially for smaller spaces, being into the local startup or entrepreneurial community, it is really important, and that can make the difference the moment you open your space.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for you, that was probably the difference or the reason you filled so quickly is because you were a part of that community and you knew what people needed. You were solving a problem, problems that you saw were real, and you could, create.
I used to go to meetups, events before. I mean, even before I had the idea of opening a co-working. And it was also maybe getting the input from the people I met that I decided to go for
it.
this.
Yeah. People start saying, we need something like this. We need a place like this. And you're like, well, I could do that. So what's next? You have this main location. You have a couple of creative partnerships. What does 2025 look like, or beyond?
Yeah, let's see. Okay. The idea will be to keep on growing somehow, let's see. But so we grew a lot in the last year, so we are now consolidating because we invested a lot, and we are still a small company, so invested mostly with our own resources. And so now we need to consolidate numbers and make the company stable. And then we will probably evaluate to keep on growing. In Spain, the co-working industry is really, really dynamic. So I told you the competition is really, really tough. So we could maybe focus to Italy. We are now checking what can be the best option for the next few years.
Yeah, got it. We have some beautiful locations. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it, and it's fun to hear. We're a little US centric on the podcast, so we appreciate to hear from other countries besides just the UK, so we can, I want to come visit now. I want to come enjoy your terrace. And I looked at where you are on the map. I mean, what a beautiful location. I've been to Spain, but not that part of Spain, so I'm going to put it on the list. Beautiful. Thank you for taking the time to do this, especially at the end of your day. And we look forward to continuing to follow your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your invitation. It's been a pleasure. And whenever you want to come to Spain, you have your place to work from.
Perfect.